Hello everyone and welcome again to another episode of my cooking channel. In this episode, I want to share with you my new recipe that I've learned. This recipe is popular in Korea and they serve it with every meal because it enhances appetite. My family and I used to buy it from the supermarket, but one day I decided to learn how to make it instead of buying it. And now, here we are. I thought it would be difficult to make, but it's actually very easy. Now let's start making it. If you are also a fan of kimchi, this video is for you. So let's get started. And here are our ingredients. But before I start with the procedure, I want to list down and show the ingredients I'll be using. I'll also show which one go together step by step for easier following. First, we need about 6-pound Napa cabbage and kosher or rock salt. Second set of ingredients to prepare are spring onions, Korean radish, carrots, and white sweet onion. And this is optional, but I highly recommend it because it's so good with it. And these are the additional ingredients we'll be incorporating into our kimchi later, which we will blend using a food processor, and we'll blend with the porridge paste that we are going to do next. So, small Korean pears and 1/2 of small sweet onions, about 10 cloves garlic, and about thumb size of ginger or 1 teaspoon, 5 tablespoon Korean fish sauce, 4 to 5 tablespoon honey or palm syrup, and 2 tablespoons salted shrimps. And later on, these red chili pepper flakes. And now we are going to show the last group of ingredients, which is they called porridge. Here are the very important ingredients. We only need 2 cups of water, 5 tablespoons of sweet rice or glutinous flour, and 1 tablespoon of brown or white sugar. But we will do this porridge or glutinous rice paste at the end. Alright, that's all we need to make this simple but delicious kimchi. Now, let's prepare this 6 pounds Napa cabbage. First, remove any wilted or damaged leaves. Next, make a small incision or cut at the base of the cabbage, just enough to grasp both halves. Then gently pull the halves apart to split the Napa cabbage open. Alright, so here, cut a slit through the core of each half, 2 inches above the stem because you want the cabbage leaves to be loose but is still attached to the core. The first thing we will do here is wet all the Napa cabbage leaves so that they can easily be coated with kosher salt, then repeat the rest. Now, get a large container like a basin or large pot that you think can submerge the Napa cabbage. Now, we need 1 gallon or 16 cups of water in the brine to immerse the Napa cabbage. For this portion of the recipe, we will only need 1 1/2 cup of kosher salt. Note that we shouldn't overdo the salt because the cabbage will become too salty and ruin the flavor when fermented. So we will only need enough salt to slightly soften the Napa cabbage leaves. Alright? Now, let's take exactly 1 cup of kosher salt again. Sprinkle the salt between the leaves by lifting up every leaf and getting salt in there. We will put more salt closer to the stems, where the leaves are thicker, so the Napa cabbage soften faster. Then just repeat the procedure for all of the cabbage. And after that, let's directly put it in the basin or container with salt water and arrange it well so that the cabbage is evenly soaked in the brine. So let the cabbages rest for 2 hours. And later on, turn over every 30 minutes so they get well salted. And from time to time, you can ladle some of the salty water from the bottom of the basin or container over top of the cabbages if you want to. And I also made another batch of cabbage. This one I chopped, same method. This one is chopped and the other is whole with the core. So don't get confused. I'll be making a separate mixture for this, but the process and procedures are the same, okay? So while we are waiting for the 2 hours of soaking the cabbages, let's prepare the ingredients we will be using to make the kimchi, okay? Alright, so let's cut all the vegetable into thin strips, about 2 inches long, and make them uniform. After cutting everything, 30 minutes have passed, and it's time to flip over the napa cabbages we've been soaking. Now we will arrange them to ensure the napa cabbage soften evenly. So as you can see here, I will add some weight to keep them submerged, allowing them to soak properly. Alright, now let's move on to preparing the porridge, which is one of the most important ingredients in making kimchi. Okay? Alright, so for our porridge, we need 2 cups of water, 5 tablespoons of glutinous rice flour, and 1 tablespoon of brown sugar. You can also use white sugar, no problem. What we will do is mix everything together and constantly stir until it boils and becomes a paste. Initially, you can set the heat to high, and when you feel it's getting too hot, gradually turn the heat down to slow to prevent the bottom from burning. And then once it boils, add the brown sugar. You can add the brown sugar together with the others, no problem. So when you see it's about to reach the desired consistency, turn off the heat and set it aside to cool down. And so while we are waiting for the porridge paste to cool down, we can prepare the other ingredients that we will mix with the porridge paste. Okay? Alright, here we go. Now that our porridge has cooled down, this is my version of mixing these ingredients. The other people separate the porridge and add the ingredients later. But in my version, I blend everything together because they are similar. And I found that it's even more delicious this way. Probably because all the flavors blend together. So let's put them all together into the porridge and then use a food processor to mix everything together. So these are the ingredients that will be blended together. So pears and white onions, ginger and garlic. You can chop them into small pieces as well, like this, to help the food processor blend them smoothly. And this is Korean fish sauce. It's better to use authentic ingredients when making kimchi to get the flavor you're looking for. And so this is also Korean shrimp or salted shrimp. So just squeeze out the liquid because it's really salty. Okay? And here I'm using also honey instead of palm syrup because usually they use palm syrup. But for me, it's okay because the texture and flavor are the same. And I think all these healthy ingredients. Now that we have all the ingredients together, we are going to blend them all together until they are pureed. As I mentioned earlier, some people separate the porridge paste and blend the pears, white onions, garlics, gingers, salted shrimp, and honey together first. Then they add the porridge paste later. But in my version, I'm including the porridge paste so that everything blends well and achieve the right texture, which is what we are looking for. Okay, so our cabbage is ready now. Before I forget, I want to remind or let you know that before blending those ingredients and after the napa cabbage has soaked for 2 hours, wash the cabbage bulb a few times under cold running water. Wash them thoroughly to remove all the salts and dirt and give them a final rinse and put them in a strainer over a basin or a container so they can drain well. Alright, so now our ingredients are ready with the porridge paste blended together in the blender or food processor. Next, we'll add red chili flakes. In this recipe, I'll be using 1 and 1/2 cups of chili flakes, but it's up to you if you want to use 2 cups, depending on your desired level of spiciness. The 2 cups of chili powder would be fine if you really want it to be spicier. The 1 and 1/2 cups I use is based on my family's tolerance for spiciness. By the way, you might get confused with the measuring cup I'm using here. It's actually 1/2 cup because my 1 cup measuring cup is missing. That's why you are seeing here the measuring cup I'm using. So let's just mix the chili flakes well until they're evenly distributed with our porridge paste. Okay? Alright, now we are at the final step of making kimchi. Just add all this together: radish, carrots, green onions, and white onions. My advice here is to use gloves to protect your hands because it's spicy on the skin. So that's one tip I have when preparing this with chili porridge paste. So just mix everything well so that all the vegetables are coated with the chili porridge paste, alright? So now, when putting chili porridge paste on the cabbage, in the same container or bowl, or if you want to use a different one, that's fine too. I'm using one to save on washing dishes. So now simply spread the kimchi paste on each cabbage leaf. When each quarter of the leaves is covered with paste, wrap it into a small packet and place it in your jar or plastic container. But as for me, I will put it in its container later. I actually have a specific container for fermenting kimchi that I bought from a Korean store. But if you don't have one, any container with a tight fitting lid will do. And once you have put all the porridge paste in, actually you can taste it and know how delicious your kimchi is, even without waiting for the next day when it's supposed to ferment. You will know the flavor and taste of the kimchi you made. I will try. It's really delicious. You can enjoy your kimchi even without waiting for the fermentation process to complete. And you will get to experience its delicious flavor right away. But trust me, it gets even better once it's fully fermented. So this is what our kimchi looks like, and we will put it in the fermentation container. As I mentioned earlier, I actually bought a fermentation container because I make kimchi frequently, so it's worth the investment, especially if you make often, right? I got it for under $20 only, and it can fit 2 napa cabbages, about 6 pounds each. Oh, funny thing is, I found my 1 cup measuring cup right next to me. Again, let's use gloves because it's spicy on the skin. You can use tongs if you are more comfortable with that, but with gloves, we can move more freely and get a better grip, making it easier to pack the kimchi into the container. Now that it's in the container, we will add or put this weight, or I call it press down, because this plastic came with it, like double lid that came with the container. Next, we will place it in a quiet spot where it won't be disturbed, allowing it to ferment. The kimchi will start fermenting in a day or two at room temperature, depending on the temperature and humidity of your room. The warmer and more humid it is, the faster the kimchi will ferment. I usually place mine near a window, but out of direct sunlight. Alright, let's leave it for 12 hours or overnight before we open it again. And this is the chopped napa cabbage. Like what I've said, the procedure for making chopped and whole kimchi is exactly the same, with the only difference being the cutting. Alright, see you tomorrow. Good day everyone! It's been 24 hours since I made this, so I'm sure it's delicious now. Let's see. I'll open it. Wow! I can already smell the aroma of kimchi. Wow! Wow, it smells so good. And it looks so great. Wow. So that's how you make kimchi. If you are a kimchi lover, making homemade kimchi is the best because not only it is cost effective, but you also know exactly what goes into it without any preservatives or additives. What I want to say is, once you have tried making it and tasted your first batch, the next time will be much easier because you have already done it once. Although the first time can be challenging because you are not sure how the flavor will turn out, but it's worth it. And here is the chopped kimchi. What I can say is that it's easier to prepare when chopped, especially if you are making it for everyday meals. However, if you want to share it with your friends, the whole kimchi with the core looks more presentable. And that's it. I'm done making kimchi. I hope you enjoy following along with this tutorial. Happy kimchi making, and I hope your homemade kimchi turns out delicious. And before I forget, once we open the fermented kimchi, we need to store it in the refrigerator and only take out a portion when we need to eat it. The kimchi will continue to ferment slowly, which will actually get tastier as it ages. And one thing I've learned in fermentation is anything that we ferment, that after opening it, we must always put it in the refrigerator, okay? Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video to spread how delicious kimchi is. Bye for now and see you again on my next video episode. God bless everyone.